I'm Abdulrahman. My guest and friend today is Firas Al Msaddi. You sure it's recording? Okay, cool. I forgot what I was going to say.
I've got so many gems already before we started. It's amazing.
We haven't even started the interview yet.
But I think these would be like snaps for you to drive curiosity. People want to hear.
Absolutely.
100%. 100%.
Book or anything, so come to you.
And every time I'm in the zone, you cut me
It
off.
was 1 minute, I'm sorry.
I forget what I want to say. It's easy to look at a beast in beast mode and think, wow, they're playing the game of life at a different level. And truth be told, they are. They are playing at a different level. But the intention of this show is not to share the great things about these individuals. The intention of this show is to share with you that your idols, your inspiration, and the people that you classify as beasts are also human. They bleed when cut. They also face challenges. They fail. But they also rise after every fall. What sets them apart is how they think, their decision-making process, the actions they take, their habits, and the discipline that they impose on themselves. They think different, they do different, and ultimately, they are different. My guest today is a beast in every way, and I mean that with absolute affection. But let me take you back a little bit. Growing up in Syria, he felt limited. At the age of 20, he could barely speak proper English. But he wouldn't let that stop him. He worked in real estate. In fact, he was just hired by a large real estate developer, and 2 days later, he was made redundant. But he wouldn't let that stop him. My guest today is a titan in Dubai. He is renowned not only in Dubai, but around the world as a serial entrepreneur. He is the chairman and CEO of FAM Properties and the FAM Group of companies. For the last 2 consecutive years, the Dubai Land Department has recognized his real estate company as the #1 company that have sold real estate by dirham value. In actual fact, on his own, to date this year, he has sold in excess of 10 billion dirhams. That's billion with a B. He has accolades after accolades from the largest developers in Dubai. He employs over 200 people. He has multiple office locations in Dubai. In actual fact, we're sitting here at their head office, 7,000 square feet in the beautiful Bay Square office. Ultra-wealthy individuals and groups trust this man with overseeing their investments. In fact, his group oversees the investment portfolio of over 2 billion dirhams. My guest and friend today is built like a warrior, mentally and physically. He is a son, a husband, and a father of 4 beautiful kids. He's the kind of person you'd refer to as the man. He is a beast on every front. He is an unstoppable force. And frankly, he inspires the heck out of me. This is How Do They Do It? I'm Abdulrahman. My guest and friend today is Firas Al Msaddi. Firas, I appreciate you making the time. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. First question. Something about you that most people don't know. I'll give you an example. Most people, when I'm working with them on a professional capacity, don't realize that I dance, which is something that I do for me as a hobby.
I think maybe collectively what you just said combined with the struggle I went through throughout my journey and I still go through. People look at you now and they think that, oh, you're very comfortable with your life, you've made it, and they don't know that probably that, you still go through, struggle. Because as long as you seek progress and you seek to move forward in life, that means you're going through challenges and obstacles, and it's not easy. It's running a business, like Steve Jobs says, it's a full-time work.
Yeah. Something you don't know is I've been wanting to have this conversation with you for years. I've just been procrastinating about doing this YouTube show and podcast. And as soon as we decided, okay, I'm going to do it, you were right up there, and I was going, hey, we must have this conversation because I really mean it, that you truly are a beast. I mean, when I see you doing amazing things, and we'll cover it, the things that you're doing with real estate, your story, the content you're putting out. You're putting more content than content creators, which is amazing. And you just have a fearlessness, at least from the outside. It looks like you're just fearless. Yeah. When you started doing, say, content online, did you take me through your thinking process? Like, how long did it take you to decide I'm going to do it, or
I've never actually had any social media accounts in my life. So
Okay.
I've never ever had Facebook or anything. I think my wife created a Facebook page for me that I've never ever looked into. But then basically, and I was one of these people when, 2013, 14, the market was really good in Dubai, and I was seeing, a few influencers coming out. I was, watching some YouTube videos, but I didn't really pay attention, and it wasn't my thing because I was never on social media, like I said. Although I had all what it takes to be on social media. You don't really need much to be on social media back then. But then I felt the need to step up and to create an edge for my business. I felt that it's actually a must, because I realized the potentials. I think I realized it a little bit late, and that drives me to do much more today and not to take it easy with social media, because I consider myself arriving to it late.
Okay.
And for me to catch up, I have to do much more than what I would need it to do, probably if I start 2012 or 13.
Yes.
And that's time and financials too. So, to get what I would have got if I started in 2013, I think today is costing me 10 times more, if not more even.
But when you were thinking, I want to go through your thinking process. When you decided, what made you decide, okay, I'm going to do it? And then, did you have concerns? Because I'm thinking about it. I'm sure, if people are thinking about it, when we want to do something that we haven't done before, we all have certain things that perhaps holds us back, or we're scared of, or...
Honestly, the only thing was the camera. I was never comfortable with the camera. And I just, bought the camera, and I bought remote control, and I just put the camera like this, and I said, if this is going to stop my future, definitely not. If this is going to actually take me and my business to the next level, definitely I'll chew it and do whatever it takes, At the beginning, I'm not exaggerating, probably 1 minute video would take me 5 hours. I'm literally 5 hours.
Yes.
And then slowly I got into it. And I know myself, I'm really bad at scripts, and I'm really good at just the idea comes to my mind, I just...
Free flow.
Exactly. And I love adding value to people. I genuinely love adding value to people. Many people in the real estate industry, I'm not trying to sidetrack the discussion, but many people in the real estate industry, agents, for example, you tell the agent, train another agent, tell what's in it for me, I want to make money, I'd rather put this time into making another deal. But for me, it was always a privilege, it was always an opportunity to learn how to train someone, to learn how to inspire someone, to actually learn how I can add value to someone and make someone's happy or help someone changing their lives, So on social media gave me that, platform at a very scalable level. So I just said, that's it, this is it. I just need to practice so I can become better at it. And I know myself that the best thing is, I've tried a lot because I have company, I have marketing department and everything.
Yes.
And I've tried a lot to, with production, without production. And the bottom line of this, your content, despite the production, your content has to add value. And when the content is rich in terms of what you're putting out and spontaneous and genuine, and people can relate and resonate with it, it will just fly and it will work for you in an unbelievable way. So
get inspired. Whether you're in Dubai for business or pleasure, the last thing you want to do is blow your budget on accommodation, which is why I recommend you check out our host venue partners, Rove Hotels. Beyond being price sensitive, what I love about Rove Hotels is the fact that they are a combination of cafe, culture, and just coolness. Even my guests, many of them, when they arrive before we record or after we finish recording the podcast, they actually comment. They go, wow, this place is cool. The vibe is amazing. And it is amazing. So if you're in Dubai for business or pleasure, I recommend you check out our host venue partners, Rove Hotels. This episode is brought to you by M Dojo. Whether you're in business or new to business, you need 3 things: a good website, traffic, and being able to convert that traffic into paying customers. That's what M Dojo does best. They're able to create for you a functional, state-of-the-art website, drive targeted traffic, and put in all the elements needed in order to convert that into paying customers. Isn't that what you want? Of course it is. Give the team at mdojo a call and see how they can help you increase your sales and profits. Tell them I sent you. Their website, mdojo.co. So if we were to give a tip, say if I want the tip, if I'm new to social media, I need to get on it because I know that it's important for me to build my brand. What would be some steps you'd recommend that I take? What would be your advice?
I think first of all, you have to really think of your motive and what's in it for you, and what also you would lose if you don't do it. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Mm-hmm. And for me, despite how good you are, if you don't tell the world, if you don't tell the universe about how much you know and what you know, you never attract those who care about what you know. And those who care about what you know is basically your target audience. Mm-hmm. And you will live and die unknown. So just the scalability on social media is insane.
Yes.
You know, I tell people in a meeting that you have to step up and talk so you can tell the rest of the people within the meeting what you know, so they can actually come and ask you, become known for knowing certain things, you know, for having expertise in certain things. And you have social media as a platform that you can reach, you know, the far east and the far west. So that's number one. Number one, you have to understand the potentials. You have to understand what you lose if you don't do it, and you have to understand that you have a responsibility to do it.
Yes.
You know, when you have certain information and expertise, you have a responsibility to do it. And even if you don't have too much expertise, remember. So if you are, this is what I tell my agents. So if you are someone who just came to Dubai, an agent with 6 months experience, you do leasing. Okay, the 101 information that you have is more relevant than the information I would put in as a CEO of 10 years experience to those who are coming new to Dubai looking for an apartment to rent. So every piece of genuine, real information has certain audience.
Yes.
So that's one of the things when people say, no, but maybe my content is not good enough yet.
Well, because that goes through a lot of people's mind.
Exactly, and I think any content you put out will have some sort of an audience, long as it's genuine and long as it carries some value. But despite how basic it is, there are always newcomers, there are always new joiners, and there are always new people coming, and they need to learn the 101. Mm-hmm. So I think that is one of the main aspects that probably holds people back. And then you think of the potentials of it, and you need to understand this, like anything else in life. If you do it consistently, if you look for short-term results, you're gonna quit. The same way when you go to the gym.
We all have this thing where we want to get it perfect from day one.
Yeah, no, there's no perfect from day one. And those who don't like, always remember that they have the option not to watch, not to listen, and that's it. I mean, I remember very well. One of my agents came to me. He's like, Firas, one of my clients told me, what is your CEO doing on LinkedIn? Everyone was telling me, no, you have to put one post a day because people get bored. And I was literally, at some point of time, I was putting 20 or 25 posts on LinkedIn every single day, learning. And I told him, you know what I'm doing? I'm learning, I'm practicing. I'm not forcing anyone to watch. You can block me, you can do whatever you want, but I'm practicing and I'm getting better in the process. So I was learning and practicing, and I was getting better in the process while people are judging me. So I just basically kept going, and I said, if I need to post to do an example, 1,000 posts in order for me to become good at it.
Yes.
I don't want to do this in 10 years. I want to do this in 1 year, and that's a decision that I make. And I just basically kept going. And of course, it's like any other thing. Again, you go through up and down, motivated, demotivated, but the minute you feel demotivated, you have to simulate your mind again and tell yourself what's in it for you. And of course, for me as a CEO running a company, I feel responsibility towards each and every team member at Fan Properties that I have to step up and I have to be the voice of the company. Especially for the new joiners, when they go and they talk to their clients, the impact is immense.
You're leading by example.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm communicating to the world the voice of the company, our approach to the market, our approach to sales, and what every team member stands for at Fan Properties. So I know that I'm adding so much, maybe an indirect value, but it's so much value to every team member. So it's a responsibility. as CEOs, we work for everyone in the company, not the other way around. If my CEO doesn't add value to me, he's not the CEO I want to work for.
Yeah. It's really interesting that you said that if I need to do 1,000 videos to become good at something, I mean, you can drag that out over 10 years, or you can make that decision, hey, I'm not going to be great on my 5th video, let alone the first one. I'm not going to be great on my 10th video or 100th video. If it takes 1,000 videos, it's better for me to just compress it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do 25 a day, whatever 25 a day is, but you start working on that 10, 20, something works. 40 days.
Many people talk about how do you prioritize your tasks on a daily basis. I think one of the main parameters for me when it comes to prioritizing, I always prioritize a task that once done, it works for me. So once you put something online, it works for you.
Okay.
Once I sign on a check or I sign on something on the office, so it goes to that department and that department processes it. If I don't do it, it's not going to work for me. So on social media, honestly, it's just you put something online, you go, you sleep, you do your work, you sit with your family, and it's working for you. It's creating impressions.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And I just can't get people, especially people who are starting. Like they say, once you establish certain financial stability, it becomes probably your biggest enemy because that's your comfort zone. So you don't really need to be as hungry as your start. But for me, I think I just can't get my head around how can people turn their back and go home while they really need to progress and they really need to break through to the next level, knowing that if I do more and if I'm consistent, I'm going to do it.
Because you've done that, and it's a question I've been wanting to ask you. At your level of success, it's when you're hungry, it's easy to be hungry.
Yeah.
But at your level of success, how do you maintain that hunger? Because the way I see you operating, following you on social media, seeing what you're doing, I mean, you're leaving marks. You're not just talking, you're actually leaving marks. What drives you? What's keeping that level of hunger, which we don't see with people that need to be doing it, like you're saying? Like if you don't have what you want, why are you turning back home? You should be working, like you did when you started off doing double shifts, which we will get to. But what's that thing? What keeps that hunger for you? At your level of success, you could be at a beach.
Yeah.
Your grandkids can be at the beach.
Yeah. I think, of course, I'm like a natural born competitive person. I don't want to play any game if I'm not going to really do my best. So I either have to be the best at it, or I have to be doing my best to become the best at it. And even if I don't become the best at it, just going through the process, keeping in mind that I'm doing my very level best to become the best, is just gives my life a meaning. Another thing very, very important, maybe this is more spiritual. I remember very well when I was in Syria, I used to, do the sujood, and that's what we do when we go to the mosque, and pray to God so, sincerely and deeply, and just say, God, please help me. So when help me becoming someone, someone important and successful. And once I'm there, I promise you I'm going to help others. And it makes me so happy to say and that I've actually done it. I've really contributed a lot to those who are around me, whether it's at work or in my social network. So adding value to others is happiness. It gives you this a joy in life. I think.
And you touched on that you enjoy giving advice to real estate agents. You should follow Firas on a social media. We'll place everything in the show notes in terms of all his links and so forth. But if a real estate agent, and there will be a lot of real estate agents, watching this from around the world or in Dubai, if they're new, and if you could give them some tips for them to have the best year ever as real estate agents, what would be some tips you'd give them that if they just focus on these things, they'll get amazing results? For them at least to have the best year possible.
From my experience, the minute I stepped into the real estate, of course, it's commission based only. And we can talk about this in a bit, about commission and leaving the salary work, the job going to the commission. it's a fear for many, but I think it's just a misconception. But anyway, the minute I stepped in, I just looked at people around me. I went, I saw what cars they drive. I was like, gosh, if these guys are making it, like I'm not going to the unknown. People say, no, there's uncertainty in commission. There's nothing called uncertainty. You know, you're going to do something that people have been doing it for centuries maybe, and they're doing it now as you speak. And you can see it with your own eyes. Why not you?
Yes.
You know, and I just looked at them as if they can do it, I can definitely do it. I didn't focus on I didn't overly obsess on the short-term results. Mm-hmm. I literally had zero expectations on short-term results, but I had an absolute maximum expectations on perfecting every task that I take, because I know it's 1 + 1 = 2. If you do every task throughout the day very, very, very well, these many successes that you accumulate will definitely lead to a much bigger one.
Get inspired. One of the questions that I get frequently asked is, Kev, how can I increase my motivation? We see great individuals, we see achievers, like many of the guests that I'm bringing on the show. They have the energy, they do so much, they're in a state of flow. How do they do it? Well, my team and I have released an article which I've made available on kevinabdulrahman.org/blog, the ultimate biohacking guide to increasing motivation. Or you can simply Google Kevin Increase Motivation and the article should pop up right at the top. It's absolutely free. Read it, and most important of all, take the bits and pieces that are relevant to you and apply it into your life to increase your motivation. I hope you find the article of value. If you do, feel free to leave your comments and also share it with your circle of friends. Again, you can Google it, Kevin Increase Motivation. It will be the first link that pops up, or on my website, kevinabdulrahman.org/blog. And so what would be those tasks if there is a few things that they could follow and say, okay, for us, I'm not getting the results, or I'm new and I want to have a great year in real estate. What would be the 3, 4 or 5
That's it. It's very simple.
things?
The difference between an agent who does a studio and makes 5,000 dirhams commission and an agent who does 1 billion dirham deal is knowledge and experience.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you come to work to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So you have
come to work, be there at 8.
You learn, you practice your learning,
mm-hmm.
you look for a platform that allows you to practice your experience and learning. Mm-hmm. That would give you what you need in order for you to succeed. And whatever that learning is, if you're doing commercial, then learn about commercial. If you come to an office, you have then to identify the best source of knowledge. You know, the best source of knowledge is, of course, in practical life, is to look at someone who's actually making it work, making it happen at your workplace.
And in the past,
and learn from them.
In the past, we would say you have to we have this system of called shadowing in different industries, including real estate. It would be spend the time, say with Firas, spend a week with Firas and just follow and see how he operates and does business. But today with social media, you don't have to do that. I mean, you can learn.
I think shadowing someone is always good, because you're like asking immediately, you're observing immediately, it's very good. But I think many people, like they say, they want to go to heaven, but they want to die. It's like, you shadow someone, you have to add value to them. And you have to go to them and say, listen, I'm ready to do all the donkey work in the world for you. I just want to learn. And then trust me, no matter how good or bad attitude that person is, it's going to be like, you know what? If he's not like the most amazing guy on earth, he's going to be like, okay, there's something in it for me. I'm going to actually use him. You have to understand, by doing the donkey work for him, you're actually learning. Yes. You don't need him to sit and to tell you theories, because today if you can just ask Siri, teach me how to fly a helicopter, you'll get tons of videos and tips on how to fly a helicopter. So the knowledge is out there. But you have to look for a platform where you can practice this knowledge, because only when you practice it, you perfect it, basically. Yes.
And that's powerful. It's that mentality of reaching out and saying, hey, I'm willing to do the donkey work for you.
Yeah. And the thing is that even if you get an angel who comes and wants to teach you everything and put you in class and give you everything, if there's no shortcut. If you don't go through the hard bit and you do it with your own hands, that's it. You're not going to learn it.
So
and if you don't learn it,
going to the gym.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you don't learn it, then you're not going to be able to teach it to someone. And if you can't teach it to someone because you didn't learn it, you're never going to grow. because you lead when you can add value to your subordinates, when you can add value to them, teach them, train them, preach them, mentor them. If you haven't done it yourself, how do you expect yourself to grow in life?
Very true. So seek knowledge, shadow someone, and
seek knowledge. Look for a platform that allows you to practice this knowledge, and you need to have in your mind that I'm here to learn, and practice, and gain the experience. That's the target.
Yes.
Once you get the experience, you become a need. Because today, if you want to buy anything, if you want to do anything within any industry, your wish is to get someone who's got the know-how and someone honest.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you become that someone, that's it. You become a need to people, not an option. So if someone wants to come and buy real estate, if I want to buy a property in downtown, my wish is to deal with the most genuine agent who has the most know-how of downtown. So your target is to become that someone. And of course, focus. You can't do everything and learn everything. You have to learn something, practice it, become so good at it, and then you move to next.
Yes.
If you're asking about real estate, then you focus on one project. You focus so much on that project that you become a need for that in that project. And you become more experienced in that project than someone who's been doing this for the past 10 years but doing every project in town.
Yes.
Because you're actually there.
Do you believe in specializing?
And it's the only way.
So even you're going to focus on a niche?
At the start, especially at the start, because once you focus on a niche, you learn it, then you become so good at it. Then people understand that this is your approach in business.
Yes.
People understand that when you do business, you don't do business unless you are so good at it, unless you know exactly what you're doing, unless you've taken it through a very well tested qualifying process. And then I can trust you and tell you, you know what? Go and work on X and Y project. I want to buy in those projects. I want you to study these projects and to give me a report. But first you have to prove yourself somewhere. Then you can go out everywhere, but just establish your approach. You know, today I have clients who come to the office and ask me about properties in the US. I've never ever been in the US in my life. I know nothing about real estate in the US. But they just ask me and I say, okay, you need to ask these following questions. I look at the data and I become the point of contact with their agent because I feel that the approach is one. You know, you ask the right questions. So what I'm trying to say is my clients trust my approach. They know that there are certain boxes that I need to tick, and they trust me that I'm going to be transparent and genuine with them. Of course, they trusted me not because I do everything. They trusted me because they went through one experience with me over something that I know so well. They like the process, and they like the approach, and then they trust you we're in the business of creating trust anyway.
Yes.
You know, if you trust me because you've seen one video from me on social media talking about maybe my family or talking about business, then you're gonna trust me when I tell you sell at this price.
Yes. Or
buy at this price. This is a good deal or this is a bad deal. And of course, the shortest cut to this, there are no shortcuts, but the shortest way to this is just you be yourself and be genuine. That's it. You don't have to think and create scripts and copy paste something that you don't know and send it to your client and then be all paranoid if your client asks you.
Because especially, I suppose, in Dubai as a great example, but in real estate or in other fields, the temptation to go wide or to do everything is there for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the saying is like it's a fisherman. If you're going fishing, and I'm not the best fisherman, but I understand the concept, you can't have the whole ocean. You can't have the whole sea. You got to go pick a spot, cast your net, and that's where you're going to go and get your fish. So if we were to think of the time where you were approaching real estate from your perspective, how did you implement your strategy? Like, what were you thinking? I'm picking your brains because I'm interested. I'm thinking, okay, if I want to model Firas's results, if I was to become a real estate agent, or if I was to look into real estate, if I was to look at investments, and these are a few questions in one. The first one is, how did you go about it? What made you think? What did you specialize in? What was your thinking process when you picked a certain
I'll give you an example. When I started my real estate company, that was the peak of the global real estate crisis.
Yes.
I looked at all of Dubai, and I picked Business Bay to start from. I remember very well, the first project in Business Bay was called Executive Towers, and so there was no roads, proper roads leading to Executive Towers, all sand.
Yes.
And then everyone was like, of course, everyone was like, don't start a company. But then when I started the company and they said, okay, now you started the company, go to an area that has transactions, like Dubai Marina. And no, I picked executive towers because I thought in Dubai Marina or in the Palm, people have been dealing with investors for the past 6, 7, 8, 10 years because these projects exist, since a while ago.
Yes.
So they already have contacts with investors, they already have
the relationships.
The vast majority of the units are occupied, so I'm going to pick up the phone and call 10. Probably 8 would say no, maybe 1 would say yes because he's listed with every single person in town. And maybe if I have what's so-called luck, which I don't believe in so much, but if I have it, then I'll get one. Mm-hmm. But if I go to a brand new project where there's no one there, and probably many people aren't interested in it because they think there isn't much transactions here. Me, in the back of my head, every single square foot in Dubai is built to be rented, sold, occupied, and it needs someone to do it.
Yes.
So I saw an opportunity there. So I came, I specialized, I remember very well. Back then I had 3 people in my company, and believe me, if you come to Executive Towers back then, you would instantly say that this little company called Fan Properties looked as the biggest company in Dubai when it comes to that project. Because even the largest company in Dubai back then didn't have what I had in that project. Because I left everything and I focused on that project. And then once you create your footprint, then you look at next. And then once you learn the process, then you hire people to do what you were doing, and you manage them, you pass all the knowledge to them, and then you can move to a new front, to open a new front.
This is really interesting because in 2009, at the peak of the crisis, you start a company when everyone else is running away from real estate, and you choose an area where no one is looking at.
Yeah.
Because I remember Executive Towers, so it was just there was literally no roads.
Yeah.
This is in essence what Warren Buffett. It's his principle and how he behaves, and he goes, when everyone's greedy, be fearful. When everyone's fearful, be greedy and attack. So how did that thinking come about? Like, have you always been thinking this way? Was it a series of events? I'm just interested to know what was your insight. Because you don't believe in luck.
Yeah, I just feel it's simple.
So you see?
I just feel it. I see the dynamics. It's rational to think so. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's miraculous to think so. I think it's rational. I think many people, many people have that thought or have this thought. But it's the fear that stops them from going there. They say, okay, if why not everyone's going there? Why would I go there? Mm-hmm. And it's probably the fear that stops them. But I think it's not rocket science.
Yes.
Like the math makes sense. The math adds up.
It's the fear that
there are 2,000 apartments here in a very prime location. No one is there. There's no agency, no real estate agents. Many people aren't interested in that project. And someone has to deal with it. If my job is even to evacuate investors from that project, I'll make a big success, a big fortune out of it.
That way of thinking.
So.
And then when you were there, what was your strategy to dominate? Because you said you looked and you dominated that place with a small company where you only had 3 people. What was your thing of dominating?
On my own, with just literally only me. And then I had the receptionist. Slowly I hired.
But were there things that you implemented that helped you take over? Because I can imagine.
Just more hours, that's it.
Okay.
Honestly, more hours, and the concept is simple. Success in theory is very simple. If you want to succeed in anything, you have to put the hard work, and you don't stop until you actually get what you want. And you're consistent in terms of the number of hours and the quality. The world doesn't care about how you feel, what personal problems you have, what physical injuries you have. The world doesn't care. It moves on. So, you go there and you just continue doing it. I tell my people, I say, in emails I write to my people in the company, don't tell me it's done 99.999%. Because that is so deceiving to you before it being deceiving to me. That's it. You go to do something, you do it A to Z, and you don't stop until it's done. Very simple. Like you have a tower, it's not rocket science. You need to learn about every single apartment. We need to get listings, stock. You need to learn more than anyone else. So when a client comes in or when you're talking to a landlord, the minute you say, okay, your unit is 02, so I know the kitchen is here, the overlooking that, so the size is like this, you showcase knowledge. Before you try, don't tell people that I'm so good, I'm the best, come on, deal with me, I'm licensed. No. You simply just showcase your knowledge, and that will speaks volume about you.
Yes.
And that what will get people to trust you, not you saying, trust me, I'm the best.
And there is no shortcut to it. You want to, you want to be knowledgeable, you need to go and put in the yards.
100%.
Yeah.
You can't talk about something you're not. You can't talk about an apartment. You haven't been there, and you don't know every other competing project to your project, because whenever someone comes to buy something or to rent something, they're definitely looking at, probably 2 or 3 other options, because that's the time they're going to see, okay, does this give me the best value for money or not? So you have to understand that you're selling very, very well, macro and micro, and then that's it, you go from there.
Because we live in a world where it's the temptation. Everyone sees the success stories. They see the deal making. They see the million dirham checks. They see the commissions, the nice cars, the nice houses, the lifestyle. And yet a lot of people are not willing to put in the yard. Both in Dubai and, it's a problem around the world with the reality of, I like what I like to have and what I like to achieve.
I try to tell people that luck, there's nothing called luck, it's an opportunity. But you have to be well prepared for it. If you're not well prepared for it, and to be well prepared, this doesn't happen with luck. You can't just wake up in the morning, become luckily well prepared and well knowledgeable of something. You have to actually learn it in order for you to. And then opportunity comes, which let's label it as luck now. And then you're prepared, you grab it, you make the most out of it. So the first ever sales that happened in the company, I wasn't doing sales because it was impossible to sell anything in Dubai back then in 2010 or late 2009. So I was doing leasing. And I just went to show an apartment. On my way down on the elevator, there were 2 local ladies talking about buying and viewing an apartment to buy. And I said, hey, I have an apartment to sell. I went, I showed them the apartment, that was my first deal. I don't call that luck. I call that I was well prepared, I knew the project inside out, and I was listing properties there.
Yes.
Now, sometimes I fail to get my point across to people and say there's nothing called luck. So if you believe in luck, I want you to understand that luck is not something within your control, even if it exists, and it's not something you can bank on. If you bank on luck, you might really be unlucky.
Yes.
So just don't wait for it. If it comes, amazing. Follow a process that guarantees you success, or that guarantees you to reach to your destination. And then if luck comes and takes you with zero hard work, then okay, fine, be it.
It's like that saying, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
But over 20 years ago, I had a mentor, and he gave me a definition of luck, which I remember to this very day. He goes, Kevin, luck is L-U-C-K, laboring under correct knowledge.
Yeah, that speaks for
and he was, just remember this, you want to get lucky in life, or you want to be lucky, or people will call you lucky, and the reality is you're working hard under the right knowledge. And when you're saying all this, I'm thinking of that, and that's exactly the same thing. You were talking about, putting in hard work with the right knowledge.
Yeah.
And you were able to do that deal because you knew the project inside out, because you were willing to do what a lot of people might, when they get into real estate, they all want the big bucks. No one wants to do the small deals. Yeah. Yet you're willing to do the leasing, make a few thousand dirhams, but as a result of that, you're in the elevator, you meet the 2 ladies, and end up doing a sale.
Yeah.
Since I brought up mentors, who would be a few people that you look up to as mentors or learn from, whether it's professionally, personally, whether they know it or not?
I listen to audiobooks a
Okay.
lot. I've never read a book in my life. So hopefully thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
It will be my first book.
Hopefully you find it useful.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. Public speaking, I need it, I think. I think the first audiobook I listened to was Rich Dad Poor Dad, as I told you now.
That was a commonality, we found, because that was the first book I read.
Yeah. And I think Tony Robbins was like one of my biggest aspirations.
He's a living legend.
I love Gary Vee today.
Yeah, awesome.
I think he's extremely genuine, and I think we have absolutely the same approach, me and him. I probably swear less, but I just, I just believe in this. That the best way and the best ROI is when you are simply yourself. You don't have to create something that you don't have to create. Just this is me.
Yes.
That gives you the best ROI. So he's really inspiring, and I think if seeing is believing, and he's very, very realistic. You can resonate with him. You can relate. He's
the truth.
realist.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the truth. If we speak about mentors, and I understand you come from a really tight-knit family.
Yeah.
And perhaps this is a good segue to go back to your family, mom, dad, brother, sister. You guys are very tight-knit. What lessons have they taught you? So say, for example, from mom, dad, or your sister or brother, if there was one thing that you learned from each one of them, what would it be?
I would say I learned a lot from my mom, competitiveness.
Okay.
I don't know, I've never actually asked her. That would be a good question to ask her when I meet her today. I think probably she sensed it in me, but she always pushed me more for it.
You can do it.
Yeah. And just becoming more and more competitive. So she encouraged that instinct, if I may call it, that I had. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I came to Dubai, she's like, listen, you either come back in the box or you come back a winner. Period.
That's a harsh coach. Yeah.
I remember this very, very well. Because I was like a serious troublemaker in childhood. I gave my family a lot of hard time, to be honest. So no matter what I do with for my mom and dad today, I wouldn't pay them their rights.
Yes.
So my dad, I would say, my dad is very, very extremely peaceful.
Mm-hmm. What would you say you've learned from him? The trait?
I would say, I learned a lot from my dad.
Yes.
He's very calm and he's very rational, and he listens, he doesn't talk much, and he's extremely honest. And I think this is one of the things that he kept hammering on when I was a kid. You're honest, that's it, you got nothing to worry about.
I see that
you broke a glass, you don't have to worry about all night us finding out that you broke a glass. That's it, you broke a glass, you just come and say it, face it, take whatever you have to take and sleep well.
And I've noticed it over the last few years that, having noticed it, that's also part of your approach in business.
Yeah.
It's a big...
Yeah, definitely.
It's a pillar of your business.
Yeah.
Honesty and integrity.
Yeah. I think that's my approach to life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, business is a big part of my life.
Sure.
Yeah.
So take us to, perhaps a history lesson for those who have not been following you. You were born in...
I was born and raised in Syria.
In Homs?
In Homs, a small town in Syria. I was by all means a troublemaker. I think I made too much trouble in my city, to the extent that I felt the need for a fresh start. Troubles, I was just like, probably every other day I'll have a fight on the road. And then I really felt that I needed a fresh start. I remember very well, it was 5 p.m. I walked home and I saw my mom and my brother. They were watching something for Dr. Saleh Rashid. It was basically probably a professor in, he was a life coach basically. Mm-hmm. An Arabic version of Tony Robbins somehow. Mm-hmm. And I just watched it, and they were talking about success and goals and life and stuff. I was like, okay, hold on. I'm not doing well today. I need to change. And literally, that was the tipping point all the way to where I am today. Mm-hmm. And since then, I said, okay, I need a fresh start. I want to travel. If I want to travel, I need to learn English.
Yes.
I started actioning. So when in summer, whoever comes from abroad, I'll just stick to them. They're funny, cool, or heavy. I'll just stick to them so I can learn English.
How old were you at that stage? This is still in Syria.
Yeah, in Syria. Yeah. I can't remember 17.
Okay.
Maybe 17. Yeah.
But the wheels were turning already.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I went to Saudi twice. I looked for a job. I worked as a gym trainer for a few days. Didn't work out. Went through a very tough time. I remember very well one of the times I went, I actually slept in in an industrial area with 3 bunk beds, one on this side, one on this side, and outside they used to fix cars, and we had a window AC. So during the summer, the peak summer, they can't have the AC on because it will put out all the hot air.
Yes.
I remember I would just stay in that room and just shower with my sweat, basically. And but at the same time, I was still thinking and doing and going on the road and knocking doors and calling people.
What were you doing?
Looking for a job.
Okay.
And then it didn't work. I went back to Syria again.
How were you feeling at that moment? Because we all face, and there are many people at different stages. You're young at that stage.
Yeah.
You're still young. But at that stage, late teens, 18,
Yeah.
19, you're facing that rejection, you're trying, you're working hard, conditions are not great. What was going through your mind?
Honestly,
it's easy to
I
give
just
up.
had an unstoppable will. That's it. I don't want to be where I am, and I was fully aware that to change my reality, no one's going to figure it out but me. And of course, big part of it was that I have to pray. I really prayed so hard.
Yes.
And I had to do the work in reality, actions. And I just had in mind, that gives me so much peace of mind, the fact that I just made a decision that I would not stop. That's it. No matter what happens, I would not stop. And that what
single decision
kind of eliminates I will try. No, there's no I will try. If you don't try, you don't know. There's no I will try. Because you try, it means all the way, along the way, you're gonna have always the two options.
Mm-hmm.
Is I tried, it didn't work. Do I continue or I stop? No, but when you say that's it, I'm going there, I will not stop until I reach, that's it. And that, put always one option in my head is that that's it, I'm continuing, I'll not stop.
Blistering hot weather, you're knocking, it doesn't work out, you go back to Syria.
And then I start taking interviews.
Okay.
I was accepted as a security guard in one of the malls.
In Syria?
In one of the GCC countries.
Okay.
I accepted the offer. I just wanted a start outside.
Yes.
That's it. A fresh start.
Yes.
In a place that has potentials, and the GCC always had big potential, especially seeing people coming from abroad during summertime in Syria was like. And then I took one more interview.
Mm-hmm.
That was for a job in Dubai as a salesman, merchandiser in the fashion shop, and I was accepted. So I flew here. My salary was 5,500, and that was
5,500
such a
dirhams.
big salary.
Yeah.
Because my other salary as security guard, I think, was 1,800 dirhams or something.
Yes.
So that was amazing, impressive for me. So I just came. The minute I landed, I remember very well. They took me to my accommodation and a bus through Sheikh Zayed Road. That was, oh my goodness, that was so impressive. I could feel the energy of the city. I could feel that's the place. This is the land of opportunity.
The beginning of Sheikh Zayed when you're coming down, amazing, it's beautiful.
And immediately I had the vision that I want to work in one of these offices. And then honestly, every single step of the way, I used to visualize it, obsess over it, and just put the work with no expectations of short-term results.
Mm-hmm.
And results just kept coming. So I did 1.5 years in Armani.
But you working in Armani, people will think, I'm just going to sit back, pray, and I'll visualize, and it will come to me.
I did double shifts. I learned how to speak Russian because we had a lot of Russian clients. So
you developed your English?
I developed my English. I developed my Russian language, just Razmer and Balshu, and I don't know what, big and small and size. And
you did
of course,
double shifts.
Dubai, double shifts all the way. I remember one Thursday, I had the entire team with my manager. They said, that was in their city center. They said, it's either us or this guy in the shop.
Why? Because you were taking all the hours?
Yeah, they used to call me the German machine because I would just keep selling, and I'm always there, so no one can catch up with my sales because obviously I'm doing double shifts. And then that's it. They just didn't want me there, and that was very good for me because I moved to a better shop. I moved to Emirates Towers. They moved me actually, and if my sales numbers were not good, probably they would have terminated me. And then I moved to Emirates Towers, and that was my first year. I got the Bulgari watch because I was the first top salesman
in the
across
UAE.
whole, UAE.
Well done.
And then I felt, okay, this is suffocating. I need to do more because the shop wasn't, the walls were not, didn't look good. I wanted more. And I remember very well, I used to, I was the only one in the shop who would tie the shoelaces for people. I didn't have to. I wanted to seal it. I want to say that, so before I give up on something, or before I say, okay, it works or it doesn't work, I have to do my very, very level best, learn the ins and outs on it, and then I would understand, okay, is there future there or not?
Just from the conversation we're having now, it's so apparent that in whatever you do, whether you realize it or not, you're willing to do whatever it takes, not just saying it. It's so easy to say, I'll do whatever it takes. You're willing to do whatever it takes. I know first-hand experience in real estate, people will want to do sales, they want to do 10 million dirham property, they want to do 100 million dirham land, they want to sell a hotel, they want the big buck commission.
Yeah.
If you tell them, hey, you're starting off leasing, and your potential check, if you make one, is 2,000 to 3,000 dirhams, so many people are, 99% of people are forced to do it because if they had the option, they want to do the big stuff.
Yeah.
You're willing to tie shoelaces to make sure the deal is done.
Yeah.
And it seems like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that you're willing to do the dirty work, maybe dirty is not the right word, but you're to do anything, whatever it takes.
Within the value system, that's it.
Yeah.
That was my rule.
Yeah.
I do whatever it takes within my value system.
Yes.
And that's it. I'm fair to myself, I'm fair to others. But I always dreamt, you have to dream of where you want to be. You have to have big goals.
Yes.
You have to have the goal in your mind, the back of your head, that I want to sell a full building. You have to have all of this, but you have to be a realist. You have to say, to do this, I have to do 1, 2, 3. And you know what? If luck found me, and that happened, and the theory of hard work is wrong, fine. But don't bank on it.
Yes.
You have to dream, but make sure that your dreams. Sometimes people think too big, and they look where they are at the start, and they get demotivated.
Yes.
So long as that big dream drives you, obsess over it. No problem. But it should drive you to perfect your tasks in real life.
What you're doing
today.
So in Syria, what was your vision at that point?
I want to be out.
Out.
I want to start out in a security mall, cleaning
whatever
roads,
it takes.
Taxi driver. I just wanted out.
That was the vision. Then you come here, you land here, you're working in retail.
Yeah. My vision was never becoming a manager in the retail shop. Because I was looking at my manager and that wasn't enough for me at all.
Okay.
My vision was I wanted to be in an office. I didn't know how to use emails back then.
Yes.
I was the only one in the shop who doesn't know how to use an email.
Top salesperson who doesn't know how to use emails.
So everyone would come and check that one screen, one PC where we receive emails. And I'd always have to call someone to say, okay, what is this? And then of course I learned in the process. So my vision was I want to start going to an office. I want to be in an office and I want to be out of the retail shop. And then I went to the real estate. I've done so many interviews. I remember realistically, people in the shop literally were laughing at me. And I tell you, Dubai is so much like any other world-class city in the world. The temptation is like unbelievable. So I would look at whatever people deemed as temptation and I would call it, I'd talk to myself, this is a deceiving device, literally. You're smarter than this. I will actually get my ego to kick in. And my ego would drive me to be like, you know what? No, this is not smarter than me. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to party. I'm not going to do this. All these things are there to deceive me. I'm smarter. I'm stronger. And then...
So you had the self-talk with you?
I had like an absolute undivided attention on where I want to get and what I want to do.
So when you started going to these interviews, why did you pick real estate and what were they laughing to you about?
When I said that I'm going to have a group of companies at the age of, literally, not because I'm having the interview, it's just the reality.
Yes.
I said at the age of 30, I want to have a group of companies.
That became a new vision that you had?
And I had zero expectations of what it is. I had zero expectations about real estate. I didn't know that I'm going to be in the real estate this is what I was just kept singing and saying. I mean, I remember they used to order food and stuff. I used to go to Carrefour or to buy one bread and cheese and eat in the pantry. And because all my life, if I have, I spend. If I have, I invest. And if I don't, I simply don't. That's it. For me to live under the shade of a tree, but the king of myself, much better than the living in someone's mansion and feeling like, okay, it's not me. I like always my own space. Even if my space is just, no matter what it is, but I want to be the king in my space.
Man cave,
Yeah. So
king of your castle.
Yeah. So, and that means I do only what I can afford to do. Because whatever you can't afford to do is not going to be yours.
Yes.
It's not going to be someone else's. And that could be the bank, or that could be a lender, or a friend, or whoever it is, but I just didn't want any of that. That's why I've never ever in my life taken a loan or a credit card. Never ever in my life. I remember my friends in Armani, they would just take credit cards, break the credit cards, and they would say we're going to Goa. And I had no clue what Goa is, And they would come and they would tell me all these stories. And as they're speaking, and I'm having fun with them speaking and listening to their stories and stuff, but I'm realizing it's just driving me more that, gosh, I'm on the right direction. I just keep going more and more. If the vast majority are there, oh my goodness, I can't get more right than this.
Because they're so distracted with everyday temptations and.
Yeah, but I never judged them.
Sure.
Yeah, not even I was no one to judge nobody. I still don't like to judge people. I think whatever makes you happy. But in the context of what I want to achieve in my life, it felt, day by day, I felt more and more that I'm on the right track. And I just kept going.
So you're in retail, you share your vision, they're laughing at you, you end up kicking ass and being the number one salesperson in the UAE.
Yeah.
And then at what point did you decide, okay, you said,
I was just looking for a job, that's it. I started looking for a job.
Across the board?
Any job. So I went within the retail industry, I took interviews to become someone in the head office. I remember I went to one interview, I literally, no exaggeration, I walked into the interview, one of my friends hooked me up in that interview. I walked in the interview and I didn't say anything. Okay, tell us about yourself. Nothing, zero. I couldn't speak. I was just sweating, my temperature went up, and I couldn't say a word. And I just did this, and I walked away. Okay. That's it. And my friend told me, don't ever tell me to hook you up with an interview.
And was that because you weren't feeling well, or you had something going through your head?
No, I just couldn't speak, that's it. I was too nervous to speak.
Okay.
And I couldn't speak. But when I walked out, I did tell myself, okay, now I'm one step closer.
Even though you blew it?
Yeah. And this is not a belief that came later to me. It's a belief that I had even back then. Every time I do it wrong, or if it doesn't work, I say, okay, now I'm closer. That's it. If I need to cross 50 miles, it's 1 mile. So I took many interviews. I ended up with, because those who pay salaries, they need credentials, and I have no credentials. But my wealth, I couldn't even communicate. So who would take chances on you? People who are not going to pay you salary. Okay, you know what? It's commission based. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. So I went. I was accepted in a brokerage company. Finally, even in brokerage, many people rejected me. Didn't take the interview even. And I was accepted in a brokerage, an insurance broker. And then I chose real estate because back then 2/3 of the world's cranes were here.
That's right.
And honestly, I was so blessed, and I felt so privileged to be part of Dubai at this time when the city is being built. Because there's so much energy, so much.
You really
energy.
feel it.
Yeah, I'd say Dubai is like a treadmill going at the speed at the maximum speed, and if you lose focus for 1 second, you trip, and if you trip, you fall. No one but God can save you, because everyone is just too busy, and everyone is going.
Yes.
So then I was accepted. I couldn't take the job because I was studying in Knowledge Village. and I had only my salary, and I couldn't basically. So I took my vacation, and I went. Like I told you earlier, I look at people like, okay, these guys are making money here. It means, oh, for sure, I'll make money. And between me and myself, I said, I'll leave them behind the dust. Like, these guys are making it. Oh my goodness,
I can do
I'll
it.
not stop.
Get inspired. Imagine if you could present yourself, your thoughts, and your ideas with clarity and confidence. Imagine if you could speak to influence and impact. Imagine if you could communicate like a commanding and charismatic leader. Well, you can, given the right information and the investment of effort from your end. How do I know that? As a public speaking coach, I work with CEOs, world leaders, and presidents. And when they hire me, they expect nothing short of results. And over the years, it's been 2 decades now, 2 challenges have risen for me being unable to help the majority of people. I'm usually on a plane, with the majority of my time being booked a good year or 2 in advance. And my one-on-one session to work with someone in person generally starts at $20,000. So we solved the problem by making my public speaking course available for you online. Everything that I teach my clients when I'm working one-on-one, thoughts, tips, strategies, how to do things, all on video, all sequenced in the right order for you to be able to watch, rewatch, practice, and refine your presentation, your speaking, and your overall communication skills. And guess what? You will get results. Now, you can have this course not for the $20,000 that my clients pay me when we work one-on-one. You can have it for $997. That's right, just $997. You might be thinking, well, why are you offering something that you charge $20,000 for $997? It's simple, because those who want to work with me one-on-one will still hire me. But for many whom I might be out of their budget, this is a great way to develop their communication skills, to cut through the noise, to rise above the rest, and to beat their competition. If you're serious about wanting to develop your skills, to be able to present your thoughts, your ideas, and yourself with clarity and confidence, to be able to speak, to influence and impact, and to communicate like a confident and charismatic leader, then this course is for you. Go on to kevinabdulrahman.org/course and get started today.
You're working retail, you're doing double shifts. You choose to study on top of that?
Yeah, so I was studying in Knowledge Village.
By choice, you add more to your workload.
No, because I felt that whatever I was doing before in Syria, I started to study English, and I came here only with vocab, so I can't even put one sentence together. So I felt this is just natural. It's like oxygen. Whoever you are, despite what you know, if you don't speak English, then you're not going to be able to. And that's why when I came to Dubai, I immediately went into accommodations with Syrians. And I've seen many of my Syrian friends who came from Syria with me. They all clustered together. For me, I went and I lived in different places with Indians and Pakistanis and Africans, in a room with 8 people, because I wanted to. That's it. I said, if I want to learn English, I'm not going to be with Arabs. That's it. Period.
And you were willing to face that discomfort, because it's a lot more comfortable to be with people.
But you know what? Honestly, when you obsess over what you want, just the feeling that you're on the right track and you're on the right path eliminates any discomfort. I wouldn't actually call it a struggle or discomfort.
Because you had already made the decision.
It was like a joy, man, for me to go up and to speak to one of the Indian guys that I'm with, and try and struggle to understand one word of English and learn a few words every day from them. It was a joy, actually. It wasn't, progress is amazing.
Yes.
I think what brings depression is regress, because stay still is regress.
Mm-hmm.
So if you stay with people and you're not, I always wanted to be around people that can add value to me. That's a period. If something doesn't add value to me, whether it's a human or an animal or a TV, or they're out of my life. That's it. And that's not mean that I'm only after my interests with. No, I want to be.
You want to grow.
Exactly. I want to be with someone who, not just make me laugh and make me feel cool. I want to be with someone who I can learn from. yeah, and then I went in, I did a few rentals, I was like, that's it, this is for me. I went back, I resigned.
But you did this, you took like a month leave that you had?
Yeah, 20 something days, yeah.
And you used that leave period to go.
And I remember very well, my manager hated me, literally hated me. He would actually
you were leaving, or the one that you joined?
The retail shop.
Okay.
Literally, he used to bring his like a big one like gym guy or his friends, just like to wrestle with me in the shop, and he would just push me to shave my hair, and he would swear to me. And I remember very well, I used to drive my car sometimes and literally scream out loud in my car. But I tell myself, just shut the hell up, do nothing until you find another job. Because at the moment, it is humiliating in many ways, but it's just...
He was bullying you.
But it's just me and my manager, and maybe some of the people in the shop. If I lose that job, I will probably have to humiliate myself to half of the population in Dubai to get another job. And that's it, there's no one to carry me, just me and myself. So just, kept going, and I wasn't even complaining, not even to myself. Just like when you always think of the noble reason of what you're doing, this is what I tell people when they do, whatever, when they hit the phone or they try to make, contacts with clients, and I say, look, the client might not be happy about you contacting them or stopping them in the road or on the project or whatever, but despite their reaction, you always think of the noble reason of what you're doing. You're not doing it to hurt someone or to make someone, uncomfortable. You're actually doing it because you're building future for you and for your family. So if someone wasn't happy, apologize and understand also where they're coming from.
Yes.
And you keep going to next. That's it. It's an integral part of the process. So yeah, I started in the real estate then, and I was
what would you tell
so hungry.
If someone says, "Oh, well, you cracked it and you were lucky in the 30 days."
I think it was leasing. Like even people, like I think you would need to have such like a crazy limited imagination for you to say that in 30 days you've worked day and night and you've made a leasing. It's not even lucky. Like even if there's luck, it's not lucky. The leasing is very like small deal. Leasing. Now, if you want to call it, look, if luck is within your control, if you can bring luck to yourself, if you can do magic and bring luck, okay, don't work. Just do luck.
But the key is the words you said. If you're working day and night.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even before I joined, I took my vacation. Okay, I started doing my half day in when I don't have the evening class in Knowledge Village. I would go to the office and I would learn real estate. And then I said, okay, now let me take my vacation and take this. And so I took, I would say, a calculated risk. Then there's always a way to take a step with calculated risk. And then I went and then I started in the real estate, and then I've just worked hard. Like I said, I couldn't turn my back away from something knowing that doing this will get me to places in life.
Yes.
I always dreamt of the big deal. I always dreamt to do a building, and when it comes, I would always flirt with it.
Yes.
But my laser focus was on learning the basics, learning what it takes. And then my laser focus became on, of course, continuing to learn, because this is an ongoing, it never stops. But at the same time, learning how to teach.
Mm-hmm. So take us through the process. So you did a month, did well, resigned.
Yes, and
came
then
back.
I joined.
What was the journey?
Then I joined this company, and in the process of making a final decision and legalizing my status with the company, I met one investor, and basically he had a real estate company where he was paying everyone a basic salary, and I felt it was just a big mess. And I just kept in touch with him, and I think in 4 or 5 months, after I literally stalked him, to give me an opportunity, I moved to his company because I saw an opportunity there. Mm-hmm. Like when you go to a place that has potentials for whatever reasons, whether because it's part of a good market or it's in a good industry, but it has so many problems.
Yes.
These problems are your opportunities.
And that's what you saw as an opportunity?
Exactly, because if you go to a perfect system as someone who's fresh for the industry, it's very difficult for you to add value.
Mm-hmm.
But if even the basics don't exist, it's easy for you to add value. And you only grow when you add value. So I saw that as like a crazy opportunity. So I stalked the guy, who's today my best friend. His name is A.B. Karen. I'm sure you probably see this at some point. And then I joined this company. Then obviously, you know, the market started to change, and for whatever reason, they decided to close down. Mm-hmm. And they had few months left on rent. I remember very well. I was with AB and Zahid, his older brother, and I said, you know, a few months left. Let me try. I took very small money from them, and I tried, and I hired. And back then, the let me try was only to them. Mm-hmm. Because I had no money to guarantee, and I had no guarantees to put on the table. But to me, it was definite. It was 1 + 1 = 2. That's it. You work. You're in a booming market. There's no way for you not to make it.
Get inspired. You know this by now, that we are the #1 YouTube show / podcast that's coming out of the Middle East from Dubai. If you like the idea of having your brand reach at least 1 million eyeballs per episode, then feel free to reach out to my office on kevinabdulrahman.org. Without further delay, let's continue this great conversation.
It's apparent to me that just from what you've said, you're the kind of person who takes risk. What goes through your mind? And the reason I'm asking, because personally, I've tried many things and I've failed. You've clearly tried many things and become successful at it. What I'd like to know is what goes through your head that helps you in terms of decision making. Yeah. So if we were to think of you at that point where you were looking at taking on the few months that was left on the rental agreement, what were the quick calculations? What was your thought process for you to go, let me take this, let me do this?
You know, I don't want to go too philosophical in this, because also sometimes the words, sometimes everyone is right because everyone understands the word in a certain way. But I think I've never ever failed in my life because I've never ever quit. And I think long as you're still going,
yes,
you shouldn't say that I failed and failure is part of it, because I didn't fail to start with.
Sure.
You know?
But to give you an example, to give you an example, I have made investments that have gone to zero. So I've invested 500,000 here, 300,000 there, 200,000 there, or I've started up a business with a partner, and in 12 months' time we've had to close it. They're considered failure, but you're right. Because I never quit in that direction that I'd like to go, I've learned lessons. Yeah. But they were expensive lessons that perhaps with better decision making, better thought process, or better risk calculation, I could have avoided, because I'm not the first person to make this mistake. Yeah. I didn't have to go and hit my head to the wall. Yeah. And I genuinely would love to know the fact. It's great that you don't see it as a failure because it's already in your DNA, it's in your blood. You're not quitting. I've made a decision. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that was clearly in your mind. But what helps you in deciding what to take on? So you decided to take on this lease. You had a few months to go. What were some factors that you did? Perhaps quick calculations that you thought, or?
No, for me it wasn't even a calculated risk. It wasn't the risk for me.
Okay.
At that point, when I've done a few deals and I've learned a little bit more about the industry, and I've seen many more people who've made it,
yes,
and they don't have wings, it wasn't even a risk for me. It was always a 1 + 1 = 2. Mm-hmm. That's it. If I have an office, I list the property, I advertise the property, I sell the property.
As simple as that.
You know, it wasn't a risk for me. But for them, I couldn't give them any guarantees. So that's why I said, let's try. So I'm just picking on the word try.
Sure.
I think they saw the level of energy I had, and
yes,
I managed to convince them to give me the office for this remaining 4 or 5 months with the furniture. Very small money, maybe 50,000 dirhams. Then I hired, it was just me and the walls. I started hiring. I hired, and I remember when people come to sign the contract, they'd be like, okay, who's the general manager? And the general manager would be sitting with them. And probably the agent who's older than me, probably 10 years older than me or something. Like, I was never perceived as someone important in the company, although I was the one running the show. So anyway, I built the website, I've done a few deals, I've hired 8 or 10 people in the company, and then I sold the company to one Armenian guy and one Lebanese guy. I sold it for 1.5 million, and that was only the setup. This very simple setup I built, and I continued. I remained the GM. I brought the company to 36 people, and then that AB, the original owner of the company, is today, like I said, one of my best friends and family friend as well. So AB walked away. I continued, and then both partners went into a legal battle, and they decided to part ways. And I would say I was a victim of that. Mm-hmm. In the sense of, now if I'm to look for a job, it's very important for me who leads, who's the leader there.
Sure.
So because I put so much, I've worked day and night and everything, but I gained that experience. Of course, I walked away with that experience.
And when that split happened, it was in essence a fall.
But then I would wish that to continue with them. I would wish that to continue, growing the company.
Yes.
Anyway, I left. I joined one of the developers. The crisis started to hit Dubai, the global crisis. I was immediately terminated before I was even confirmed. And then I joined few real estate companies. There was a big setback to me. I just couldn't. So I joined a company. I worked under like a team leader, and I genuinely felt. I know that many people feel that in companies, many people feel that they know they're more than their manager but then if you have a better option, go for it. If you don't have, you stay, you learn until you find a better option. So anyway, I had that financial cushion for me.
And by now you had a few years of experience.
Yeah, exactly. Not to make the wrong decision and not to have to work under someone. And I remember actually many of the companies that are still in Dubai today, I had interviews with their CEOs, with the owners of the company, and some of them didn't even give me the chance to be interviewed.
Sure.
And then I decided to start my own. I said, if there's one single deal that will happen in Dubai, I want to take my chances from this universe, the same as everybody else in Dubai.
And if anyone can do it, it could be you, yeah.
And then I you know what, just did again. Everything's simple. I don't consider myself to have discovered any rocket science, that got me to where I am today. I just looked at all the towers in Dubai and I said, look, if my job is to evacuate investors from Dubai, okay, I'm gonna make a fortune out of it.
Yeah.
It's just simple math. All of this that's built, it's not gonna go to zero.
Yes.
Life goes on. And that what got me to say, you know what, I'm there.
And then when you got there, what was the vision?
So basically I had a frosted glass.
Yes.
In my very first office. So I rented an office for 3.5 years. One contract, shell and core office. I put the decoration. I got a great deal, and everyone was calling me crazy because I took 3.5 years. And that's the point where you say try or not try. But again, it's a rational decision. It's not a bungee jump.
Well, that's the thing. It seems like a bungee jump in the middle of a crisis. Everyone's going in that direction. And you're still moving forward.
I'll tell you something. When I set a target, and I think it's realistic because it's been done before and it's been done as we speak and it's tangible and you can see it, okay? The only way for me to go wrong is me to quit. Mm-hmm. So I said, these things, products are there that I'm gonna sell. I know how to deal with it. I know that there's learning process that I have to go through. I'm ready to start from zero, although back then, I just received my brand new Range Rover. And I remember I'll be taking clients with me in the car who are renting a studio, for example. And the rent of the studio is probably for the full year. It's not even 20% of the price of my car. But that didn't mean that, I knew the process. That's it. There's a process for me to start a company. I have to do it from scratch in order for me to hire and inspire and teach and learn how it works exactly, and then pass it to someone, and then have the ability to qualify whether they're on the right track or not. Mm-hmm. I had to do it, and that's it. I've done it. So that was a calculated risk. Now, where people don't calculate risk, where? It's with themselves. Mm-hmm. Because some people, they say, you know what, I've done all the math at an external level. But internally, you and yourself, you need to understand what resources and what compromises I have to put in place in order for me to get there.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are not willing to make that compromises or sacrifices.
You sign a contract with yourself, and that's it. And then you go for it. You understand these are the resources. So if one of the resources I need is money, which many people complain, they say, oh, I just need the money.
Do you really?
To start a business, for example. Man, that's it. If you don't have a resource, your full-time job is to get that resource. Whatever that is. If that is, working day and night or going digging graves to get paid for it, that's it. If your resource is knowledge, you go and you learn. That's it. Like Tony Robbins keeps saying that we're resourceful.
Yes.
We are the resource. Everything starts from you, with
that's
you.
Right.
And it's so true.
And when you didn't have the resource of you had that relationship with the investor.
I started my company with 150 or 200,000 dirhams. That's it.
Yeah.
I remember very well. And then I started and I focused on one project and I kept showing up every single day and I kept working and I kept worrying about what is next. So the worry of failure, it's fine to be there, but it has to be immediately remedied.
Yes.
By way of telling yourself, you know what? First of all, I would just not quit. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is, I'll not quit. And that gives you the sense of if you're not gonna quit, if you're gonna stay in that process. That's it. And so long as these worries fuel you to drive forward,
that's right.
Fuels you. And I would say the biggest fuel in my life is when someone tells me no. That's like the best fuel. Like you're really putting so much fuel on a like an explosive fire.
But it's a choice you're making because there are many individuals that will be in that position, and they let the worry, they let the doubt, they let that people throwing rocks at them to actually affect them.
Everything should turn into a fuel in your mind. Like even the fact that you want to buy something but you couldn't. Even the fact that you want to buy something for your kid that you couldn't.
Yes.
Even the fact that you want to help your mom and dad and you couldn't.
You can choose to be depressed or you can go...
Exactly, anything. And in reality, again, everything is extremely simple. You have two options. In every situation in life, you have only two options. Either do something about whatever the situation you have.
Yes.
And you have a chance to get out of it. Or you do nothing and you're still going to stay there. That's it. So literally every face that told me no, every single wish I had or every single want I had was my biggest drive to continue. And I just basically, I just continued.
And then you signed for 3.5 years, and at that point, what was the goal? Did you have...
So I had on my first glass fan group.
That's right.
I had no idea what a second company could be. Is it going to be interior design or is it going to be selling orange juice?
But you had the vision of the group.
I just put fan group, and I remember people would come and they would see 4 people in the office and the fan group. What is fan group? And I would tell them I have no idea, but I want to make group companies. And then slowly it started at what other synergies I have with other businesses. And then I started FAM Interiors, I started FAM Outdoor Media, I started FAM Living, which is one of the largest Airbnb businesses in Dubai, and I started FAMCO Consultancy. So it just evolved, So you have to dream, you have to visualize. And I would say one thing about the risk, because you asked me several times. The only thing that I was very careful with, and I'm still, whether it comes to investing my money or to investing my time, I have to make sure that any step I take, it should not break me. Mm-hmm. Okay, because you can't take steps that can break you.
So you're thinking, what's the worst case scenario?
Exactly. Can I tolerate that? With a little bit of suffering, fine. Can I tolerate that or not?
Yes.
If I can't tolerate the worst case scenario, I would not jump.
Good point.
That's it.
Very good.
So even my investors today, when I look at any investment, real estate investment opportunity, people think of the profit or how much I'm going to make. I tell them, listen, the worst case scenario, this is what's going to happen. I always have to make sure that the worst case scenario does not break the backbone of my investor or my backbone.
Yes.
And then I qualify, so I qualify 3 products that would not break me, or 3 ventures. And then I'll say, okay, which one gives me the best upside potential? Which one can I give me the best use of my time? Okay? Is it being in a leveraged business called real estate? All you need to make more money is, it's a marginal business, is experience. Because if I'm a trader, if I have a margin of 10%, and I'm running 100 million dirhams, and I'm making 10 million dirhams a year. If I want to make my 1030, I probably have to invest 200 million. Okay, but in real estate, all you have to do is knowledge. So I am very blessed to be in a marginal business, in a leveraged business. But before you choose which venture and which one gives you the higher upside, because sometimes something might give you a higher upside, but might break you. Okay, so I have to stay safe. I have to make sure that I choose something that doesn't break the minute that I say, okay, this doesn't break my backbone, I'll go all the way. I'll go for that 1 extra mini inch of upside potentials.
I laughed a bit earlier on when you were speaking about the companies under your group, because if someone doesn't know you, they'll see a beast, which you are. They'll see an unstoppable force, which you are. They'll see a guy who's just making decisions and getting it right all the time. And I know you say that I don't fail because I don't quit, but have you, I'm interested to know this, have you made a decision where you got it wrong, or you've lost money, or things didn't go as planned?
Oh, big time.
I'd love to hear that, because I think it's important for people to realize that as much as you see the great things, what builds that great individual or their great achievements is a long list of bad decisions that they've learned from, or things that...
Yeah, I wouldn't say a long list, but then, of course, I think for anyone, but of course, I've made mistakes. It's 12, 13 years, I've made plenty of mistakes. Lost money, I think in 2010, I invested in the stock market.
Okay.
And that was the most expensive lesson, that I paid for money.
Yes.
I paid money for. Everyone said, don't invest, but the market was so down, I was so tempted to invest. I said, that's it. So I put some money, I went to Syria. I came back, my money went, I think I made 30 or 40% more, because I bought at the bottom line.
Right.
But then, without having any knowledge in what I'm doing. So I would say this was the only decision that wasn't well informed, the only uncalculated decision, the only decision that I made without knowledge. And then I thought, you know what? Wow, this works. You don't really need knowledge. And then I had a small apartment in Syria. I sold the apartment. I took the money. I put all the money in. So after the market went up, I made some money on the money I put in. So I put 4 times the money I had before. I sold my house in Syria and I put it all there. And then a few months later, I lost 60% of my money in the stock market.
And the lesson was?
I would never ever in my life invest in anything that I don't understand. Never.
No matter how good the upside is.
I don't have to, that's it. And that's why when I actually contemplate, people come and say, do invest in stock market or real estate, I say, look, if you know stock market so well, invest in stock market. If you don't, then real estate is a lot more easier to understand. I mean, I remember one of the stocks I bought, I lost so much money just because the very well-known famous CEO of that company was terminated and had issues with the company. So the shares went down. Okay, I just slept, man. I woke up in the morning. I'm so innocent. Where's the money? It's gone. So that was a lesson. A few weeks back, I told the guys here. I said I did 2 mistakes last year in my business. I've built an amazing, intense incentive scheme for my agents. Very, very rewarding. And I asked them to do certain things in return. And one of these things were basically to get clients' testimonials and what so happen. But of course, the big billers would come and say, I closed it. I couldn't, the client didn't want. And I would tell them, if you manage to close a deal of this size, that means 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3, you should be able to get testimonial. So I kept giving exceptions. I ended up in a big loss. Because my calculation was, I pay more, but when people gives much better customer service. And when I know that I'm going to ask a client to give me a testimonial towards the end of my towards closure, that means every single step of the way has to be impressive with my client. For me to ask him to go out of his way and to give me a testimonial. So I thought, if this is how the behavior of every agent here in the company is going to be, that's going to add so much more value to the company. We're going to give the agent more on that particular deal, but I'll have many more deals. And then I kept giving exceptions, and those exceptions literally broke the system. I just paid much more money for nothing, and I broke my back.
And so when you make a mistake like this in terms of decision making,
Yeah.
how do you pivot? What's your thought process? Is it just this was a decision I made, it's wrong, we need to change?
Yeah, and immediately, no tolerance. That's it. No tolerance, no calculating, not much calculation to how much damages, because I know that it's wrong and it's only going to lead me to a greater damage as I go. So, no exceptions to the system. It's called an exception, so you can give an exception to one. But my mistake is, I've given too many exceptions. That's no longer, it became the norm.
Yes.
And it broke my back in that system that I created.
Sure.
So that incentive that I created was basically a complete failure. It just didn't work.
Yes.
So I immediately
Out.
changed the structure of it, and I rolled out a new one. And the other thing is when you keep unworthy people for too long.
Okay.
You give people chances, but then if someone is actually impacting others around them, despite whether they're big billers or small billers, you have to take them out immediately.
So if they're affecting the culture of the group.
So today I have zero tolerance. If I see someone actually spreading negative energy in any of my companies, immediately out.
Regardless of how good they are.
Out. Because the damage is much greater and the damage will happen without even you feeling the symptoms of it.
Yes.
It will explode one day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, when it comes to business, when it comes to real estate, your finger's on the pulse, you do of both Dubai and also internationally because you're constantly traveling. What do you see that for you is common sense or that you implement that a lot of people in business or in real estate, they're getting wrong? So what's the common practice or what's the common thought that is incorrect? That you see it plainly as daylight, but people are still practicing. It's either outdated or it's just totally wrong.
I think this is a timeless tip for whoever wants to invest in real estate. Before I started investing in London, I went 3 years to London back and forth.
Okay.
Not to look for the right property, but to look for the right knowledge partner.
Okay.
Because it's very simple. It's impossible for me to know real estate as much as someone who's there 7 days a week, doing the same thing, 7 days a week, doing the same thing for several years.
Sure.
Okay. So for me, it's impossible to identify the right opportunity while I have players who know it much more than me. But using my common knowledge, my common sense, and my generic business knowledge, combined with putting the time, I will be able to qualify the best knowledge partner in terms of qualifying their value system, qualifying their knowledge and their experience, and then you go with them and you do business with them.
Sure.
Before you go into buying a property, you have to, in any industry by the way, even if you want to do stock market, whatever, it's impossible for you to really understand you're a doctor, you're an engineer, or you do real estate, it's impossible for you to understand it as much as someone doing it full time. So first, you invest the time and the efforts to have generic knowledge about whatever you're trying to do that will allow you to qualify the right knowledge partner.
Yes. There is a saying that in order for you to get better help, you need to have better knowledge and ask better questions. That way the quality of your help will be better.
Yeah, and I tell you today, for example, it's very easy to knock the door of the developer. But when you sit, and developers are willing to negotiate, but do you know what to ask for? Do you know how you can actually ask for something that will add an enormous value to you of the transaction? No. Because you don't have the knowledge that I have, or anyone in the industry with experience has.
Yes.
Right? So I think when it comes to investing, you first identify the knowledge partner, and then I tell you, don't follow blindly. Because I have to identify a knowledge partner who believes in long-term relationships, who believes in honesty, who believes that You know, being genuine and honest is the best way. Who has the right approach? He's not going to sell me based on sexy lifestyle images and or handsome boy or handsome girl. No, someone has the right approach that's driven by facts and fundamentals. And then once I find that someone, then I start qualifying opportunities with them. And I would not follow blindly. I want to understand, and I would still do my due diligence. But that's 99% of you making the right investment decision.
Yes.
99%.
Is your own due diligence work?
Is when you first identify the right person to deal with.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you touched on it earlier on as well. Part of your identification is you're looking for someone with a similar value system.
Yeah.
As you.
Yeah.
What would be the value system that
as me?
How you lead your group, what your group
I think
is based on?
Long term. Like Gary Vee explains it in a way that cannot be articulated better. If you're not gonna die today, play long term.
Yes.
If you're not gonna die tomorrow, play long term. Something around these lines. And that's it. Long term. Long term. Investors who actually circumvent agents or salesmen, they're wrong.
Yes.
Because when I get a very good deal in the market, guess what? I'm gonna start calling. My first investor, who's someone who hasn't circumvented me, someone who doesn't circumvent, someone who I dealt with, and that deals I brought deals to my clients. I'm not the only one, just talking about my experience. I brought deals to my clients where they made 3 and 4 times their equity. Okay. Now, of course, I would never call a client for such a deal who circumvented me or tried to circumvent me.
Of course not.
I would bring this to a client who stayed. So long term.
Yes.
Long term is everything. Long term will make that agent or that salesman do his calculation that, look, I'm gonna see this guy 6 months later, I need to be able to face him. And long term, that means you have the calculation of, I want every minute I invest on this deal to work for me for the rest of my life. Which means if I'm gonna spend 3 days selling you something, if I sell it to you right, and I explain everything, and you buy it, every minute I invest it's gonna work for me for the rest of my life, because that's gonna be, it's a good experience, I left the right impression with you, and I've learned the right process of doing it, I've gained that experience, it's gonna work for me. You're gonna work for me because basically for years to come, if I wanna do real estate, and if you already know someone who does it right, why would you reinvent the wheel and look for someone else? So that's making every minute matter. So when I find someone who believes in this, that's it. This is the biggest common ground.
Is in line with with what you're.
So it's the common ground between me and how I think and how they think.
Some quick fire questions. Your mind. How do you protect your mind? How do you protect your thoughts?
So I believe that sometimes you have to isolate your mechanical moves, actions completely from your mind and not overly obsessed of your mind and passion and I don't know. So let's say I'm not motivated to work and I know that I have something I need to implement or I need to come up with or I need to solve. But I'm not in that mindset. To put myself in that mindset, I will just physically move.
Change your state.
And go to Blinkist and basically look at the topic that goes in line with what I want to do, whether that is coming to the gym or coming to the office. And I would keep listening. I would put myself in that zone. I'll just throw myself with zero expectations, because when you go with expectations, you can listen for 5 minutes and you can say, I remain in the same mindset. No, my expectations is as follows. If I stay and do nothing about it, it's very unlikely for it to change. If I do something about it, you know what? Even that 1% chance to change is better than the 0, and that's my math. I'll go for that 1% and I'll keep listening. I'll talk to a friend who's from that zone. If I want to go to the gym, I'll talk to a friend who believes, who wants to go to the gym, who's fire, I'd watch a YouTube video of, I don't know, Boyka or some crazy, motivating,
someone that inspires you.
And with zero expectations, I just listen and look and watch and do and be there and be out there, put myself in that zone, and then it will happen.
But the key is that you realize that you can choose to remain in that down kind of
You
feeling.
have to do the math.
But you're making the choice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get myself
Yeah.
in that zone.
I think it's a math. It's immediately a question. If I stay where I am and I do nothing about it, it's impossible for me to change. Okay? Fine, Firas, there's no guarantees. Firas gives Firas no guarantees. You know? But there's 1% chance that's gonna change. If you go and you meet that guy, you might wanna go to the gym. That's it.
Boom.
Sometimes, if I have the financial means, I'll go and, I don't know, buy new training shoes. That would motivate me to go there.
Yes.
Buy a new, I don't know, sports outfit. Whatever that thing is, you just go and you do it. And you put yourself in that, you associate yourself to anything related to whatever you're trying to do or you're supposed to be doing. And that stimulates your brain. And then you find yourself there.
Awesome. What about physique? I'd love to know what are your, do you have a workout routine? Perhaps what your diet is like? Because you look great. How old are you now?
35.
35.
Yeah.
You look like a beast.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, you know, I'd love to know what's your, do you follow a certain model? If someone's interested, they go, hey, I used to be 20 kgs heavier. And, I lost it and, I do intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
I follow a few guys like Tim Ferriss and a few other guys who have got, who have a certain way of, the keto diet or, the high carb and slow carb and so forth. But what's yours? Do you have it? If I want to follow? Or
honestly, I do whatever that works for me. I listen to everyone. I watch everyone. I take and implement whatever works for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have, throughout my life, I have just this approach of doing your best, thinking of the purpose of the task you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That is, if I have to pick just one key for my success and where I am today. One practical key would be that I always think of the purpose of what I'm doing. And I'll make sure that I give it my level best. Which means if I'm in the gym to physically progress.
Mm-hmm.
It means I have to make every single minute there counts. If I'm in a meeting or in a training session in the office, I am there to learn. It means that's it. I have to suck and observe on every single piece of information. You think of the task. So to give you an example, if I'm an HR executive and you're my manager, you tell me, Firas, take time attendance, I'll always think of the ultimate purpose of that task.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate purpose is definitely not to satisfy you. The ultimate purpose is your purpose. Why? Because you want latecomers to come on time. So I will make sure that I work towards that target, because that's the time I'm going to learn the process of how to get to that target. And that approach has been my approach throughout my life. And that allowed me to have quality time with my family, quality time in the gym, quality time with friends. If I am there for a reason, I have to serve that reason. Once you reach to your ultimate limits, that's the time you have to push yourself 1 inch, and you have to progress. Today I have to do better than yesterday. If I didn't do better than yesterday, that's it. There's no point.
Mm. And so do you do weights or you just do kickboxing at the moment?
Now I do kickboxing and weights.
Okay.
Yeah.
And food, what's your go-to food? You have, I know, protein.
Yeah, so yeah,
what are some of the things that you
I
eat?
don't do carbs. I don't eat carbs. I have a long blacklist of, Coca-Cola and...
The no list.
Yeah. So this is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
I take very, very little carbs.
So you're mostly eating veggies and fish and chicken and meat?
I always associate, so for me to quit something, so no sugar, for example, very rarely I take sugar. I always associate whatever I'm doing to its consequences.
Okay.
Or to its benefits. And I keep thinking. I will get obsessed over the idea, and then I start enjoying whatever I do with benefits, and I start feeling uncomfortable with doing anything that has consequences. So sugar. I keep telling myself that if I eat sugar, I'm gonna get whatever, fat or sick or feel down. Carbs kills me. After carbs, I feel sleepy. I have low energy. So I keep associating these consequences. If you do this, this was gonna happen. If you don't go to the gym, this was gonna happen. And then I literally hate it. I stopped enjoying it. It doesn't become a struggle not to do it. Today, put sugar in my coffee. I don't like to drink my coffee.
Yeah, you've made a choice.
Yeah, but I'm not preventing myself. I'm not depriving myself from it. I just enjoy having it. I enjoy having the tasteless stuff because of how much I obsessed deep my brain over the benefits of doing it.
Yes.
So it becomes a joy to me because I feel I'm progressing. I'm doing something good for me.
Good.
And me is very important to me.
Yes.
So I stopped for 2-3 months, but I didn't stop, going after the solution. And I didn't stop doing the physio and the very lightweight and I don't know what. So I did PRP and I started to recover. And then we were traveling for a summer vacation near my family. I said, I'll just do one boxing session before I travel. So it's in my mind, I'm like putting myself in the routine again with my trainer. I went, the minute I went to the cage, 3 minutes later I fainted because I fell out of the cage. The door was left open. And I broke my arm completely, shattered. I saw the bone out of my skin. And then I was taken to the hospital, surgery. I have now 7 pins and 2 plates inside my hand. I'm fixing my bones. That's 2 years back. And then again, it was no boxing, no gym, no I don't know. So then I started coming to the gym again, and I used to do 10,000 reps of biceps while walking on the treadmill, empty.
Okay.
I have nothing in my hand, just do this 10,000 times. And if you try to do it, will take you the first time will take you maybe 2 hours. Okay? And you just count 500, 500, 500, and then you would see that the 10,000 is not impossible at all.
I can't even imagine it.
So, but I put the 10,000 because that was the number that I started to feel my muscle.
Okay.
So I am there for a purpose, and I said that I'm gonna build it again, and every time I'll go to the gym, you go through the frustration seeing people that used to do much better than them, and they're boxing and doing I don't know what, and you're doing lame stuff. But again, I thought of the purpose, what I'm doing, it kept me going, and then I get back into boxing, and today never like before, but I'm 80% back. I did full boxing, and then again I had problem here 4 months back, and a problem here, and
you clearly don't let anything get in.
Yeah. But then I would not do anything that would break me. I'm rational about it. I understand. Sure. I have to hold my horses back, and this is what I'm doing.
I asked this because I remember when you said that there will be times where you're speaking to a friend or a client, and you'll have to say, "I won't be able to meet with you."
You have
because
to make time.
I have to go to the gym. And what? I'm more important than the gym? Well, is the gym more important
than me? Many people don't appreciate this.
Yeah.
Especially clients who don't do gym. When someone wants to meet you or to see you and you tell them, no, I can't because I'm going to the gym, they really don't appreciate this, because I feel the gym for them is just like, this guy's doing sports. Like, okay, forget your sports today. Come and meet me. But of course, now because I can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I started real estate, I always say that you have 20, I'm trying to pass the right advice so people don't misunderstand this.
Sure.
When you want to succeed in something, and that succeeding in that particular aspect of your life is your ultimate priority, that means you're not going to be able to achieve more than 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That means you have to understand that you have to compromise on other aspects. Whether it's family, it's kids, it's sports, it's whatever it is. Decide what you're going to compromise on. So at my start, my ultimate priority was just here.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Office. I would still go to the gym, but I would never tell the client, no, I'm going to the gym.
You'd make up for it at a different time.
Today, my job is not to actually take phone calls and go do viewings and stuff. So whether it could be a client or a third party, a partner or someone within the company, that's it. I have to really, or doing more business development or doing more social media, but that's it. My gym is priority today for me. I have to drop everything. Sometimes, or most of the times, if people understand that this is the reason that you're not making it to wherever, to work or to a meeting, they don't appreciate that.
Yes.
But then again, I feel it's my responsibility to explain it, and then it's up to them whether they appreciate it or not. So I explain and I tell them, look, for me to be there for you, I need to go to the gym. If I don't go to the gym, I'm not going to be able. It's part of my business.
Yes.
It keeps me going in business too, you know. And it's to do with, I don't know, being competitive and stuff. The minute I learned, for 5 or 6 years, because of how obsessed I came with my business, I was numb to everything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I would not feel anything else in my life, anything. And that was very bad. That was not something I was happy with, not something that I wished to have in my life.
Yes.
But I was mindful that this is the cost that I had to pay.
You made that calculation.
Yeah.
You were clear.
Yeah, it's
this is the price I have to pay. Yes.
And that's it. If you're obsessed with this is the price that I have to pay. And you know, then I went through, you know, I took a big knock in my life, and that kind of remolded me, and that was very good because it was like, okay, wait, hold on, stop. Now start thinking of your priorities, and then my priorities started to change. Now it's been my family's massive priority in my life, but then I can afford to.
Yes.
You know, my gym is a priority. Again, I can afford to go to the gym. So you have to understand that if you want to win somewhere, you have to compromise. Once you reach to a certain level of stability of where you want to go, then you can start making more choices.
Sure.
Or availing more options.
Sure. Yeah. So how is the Firas today different from 5 years ago? Either in habit, in the way you look at life, or the way you look at business, or perhaps, you know, has anything, you know, what one aspect has changed about Firas?
I don't think that I've changed, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends what you,
has your
how you perceive it change.
Sure. Just like when you said something happened and it made you realize that, for example, family.
Yeah, so back then I was, that's it. I wasn't doing business, like that's it.
Yes.
You know, I was once sent because I worked for a private office for 1 year. Mm-hmm. One of my clients who I used to do real estate with said, okay, come and work for me. And so I worked as the chief operating officer of that private office. And they had like a massive portfolio of business. So it was doing, you know, boat chartering, helicopters, private jets, oil and gas, you name it, retail, you name it, massive group. They said, okay, now at that time the regime in Libya was just, you know, the uprising just finished.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, now rebuilding Libya, there are opportunities there. And back then there was no limits. I just told you that this weekend I have there's something important to do from a networking and business development stuff. But no, I chose to stay with my family. That's my happiness. But back then I went all the way to Libya. I remember from the airport to the hotel, we had 2 cars behind us and 2 cars with fully loaded people, guns and what so have you. On the road, you would still see tanks and bags of sands and
a very high risk environment.
Yeah. And 3 days after I left, Corinthia Hotel in Tripoli was bombed, where I was staying. So back then I had literally no limits. I was numb. I would not feel anything but my business and my goal in that. And I would say I was so blessed to go through that, you know, trauma time. For me to have this, you know what, hold on, life is not only about this. I can't continue not feeling anything else in life. And then I started to look for something that I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. So back then I used to do only weightlifting. So I started doing MMA because I love the game, it's techniques, it's a game, it's a game, it's not just, you know. Much more time with my family, much more time with my kids, my parents, and so what changed is I reshuffled my priorities completely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in line with what I can afford and what you know. People talk. My definition of success is not how big your target is or your goal is. It's not You might want to do 10 million, I might want to do 1 million, you might want to do 100 million. It's not about the size of your goal. It's about what makes you happy in life and what makes you stop complaining. Okay? So if you're so happy and you have the self-contentment that you're happy where you are, that's an amazing success, whether by being a great father or being a great monk or being a great businessman.
Yes.
Long as you're happy, you're not complaining, that means you're happy.
Yes. And as we grow, our own definitions for ourselves changes.
Yeah, I agree.
How do you nourish yourself in terms of energy? Because you do a lot.
Yeah.
So what's your source? Because we're all so different. You know, some people like to have a bit of quiet time, so they meditate.
Yeah.
Others, they go for a walk. Others like to be surrounded by other people because they get the energy from others. What's your source? Like, how do you replenish your daily energy?
I'm just seeking better position in anything you do. In my opinion, it gives me the greatest source of energy.
Okay.
Because that means you're never done. I'm not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because the minute you feel you're done, then you don't feel much energy to continue because you're kind of done, right?
And people relax,
yeah, so I feel I'm never done, I'm not done, I'll never be done until I'm really done out of life.
I'm not done until I'm done. Let's say I watch this video or I listen to it on podcast, and my position is I have nothing, I'm at zero, I don't have the resources, I don't have anything. And I see one of your videos and you've got the hashtag keep winning. And I'm going, okay, I'd love to learn from you, or I'd love to know what steps I should take to be able to live the best version of myself, or if I'm in real estate, to be able to have a great year. What would be, from your experience today, what would be the things that you will tell individuals to do?
Let's start on a blank slate.
Boom.
The first thing you have to understand that it is simple. It's simple and you have no excuse because it's easy for you to understand what it takes to succeed. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, on a practical note, so first is your mindset. Mm-hmm. So you have no excuse, it's simple. Number two, on a practical note, in whichever industry you want to start, if you want to be so good and to grow and to succeed in it, you have to learn it. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you want to make so much money out of this industry, that means you have to know it more than anyone else there. Period. To know it, you have to seek knowledge every day. And you can learn this much in a day, or you can learn this much in a day, and that decides, I say the harder you work, the faster the more you learn, and the faster you progress. That's within your own decision-making power. Mm-hmm. It means if I want to become a developer, that means my first step, I go and I identify the best development company. I go there, I work. And I don't say, I'm working for them. No, that's the biggest misconception. You're not working for nobody, my friend. You're working for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because when you walk away, you're going to walk away with an experience that is equivalent to how much work you put there. If you've achieved something there, you've learned the experience of achieving something, that means you can do it outside. So you're not working for nobody. Everyone's working for himself. Okay? So you go, you identify that company, you work for them, you work day and night, and you don't think what's in it for them. Because some people are so greedy and stupid. I should not say this, but I couldn't find a better way to articulate it. Sorry that. They just say, no, why would I do this? I'm just getting paid the salary or my job finishes. No, you're doing it for yourself. Don't let the thinking of what's in it for them or how much someone is making slow you down from making it for yourself. So you go, you find a company, you come to the office every day to learn, you practice that learning, and then you will gain that experience. Mm-hmm. And then with that experience, you can either grow within the same company, depends on what you're doing with your life, or if you're going to take bigger responsibilities, then you can start your own company. Mm-hmm. You don't have money to start your own company, but if you have the experience, okay, there's so much money in this world. There's so much money in this world. So much waiting to be deployed. Okay, so with that experience, you again kill yourself. You knock doors. Your full-time job is to get that resource, which is money. And then once you get that money, you start your own company. You continue to kill yourself. and then kill yourself. Take it in a positive content. Continue enjoying the process. You continue to work hard. I'm Syrian, so my vocabs are limited. But then you continue to work hard, and then that's it. And you would stop whenever you want to stop. It will keep working for you long as you're working for it. That's it. If someone, this smart work and hard work is just a myth. I've never woke up in the morning decided to work smarter than yesterday or more stupid than tomorrow. You know, every one of us has certain capacity, and even if you want to increase that capacity, I don't know, there are plenty of videos talks about this. Even if you want to increase that capacity, you have to work, my friend, to increase that intelligent capacity. Yeah. So whether you believe that intelligence and smart work and hard work, whatever it is, I think smart work exists, but it's given. Everyone wakes up in the morning, works to the best extent of your intelligence capacity. But hard work is a decision you make, and that decides on the speed. So you're probably smarter than me, I'm slower than you. That means I have to do more repetition than you in order for me to perfect what you perfected because you're faster learner, right? But you can't stop me from working hard.
That's right.
No one can stop you from working hard. No one can force you to quit. It's a decision that you make. You know, so this hard work, smart work is a myth used for people not to do their job. If you feel that you're working for an employer where you can just do the things that makes you look good, you're just cheating yourself. You're not cheating your employer because it means you're not learning what's gonna take you to the next level. And you know what? Many people now in challenging market, in crisis, in 2009 crisis, today the global economy is very challenging. Making money is not easy. And I tell people, whoever is not in a great position today, it's only because they took it for granted when the market was booming. Because when the market was booming, me as a business owner, if I know that someone is not operating to the best extent of their capacity, they're not paying off for the business, I'll probably not put so much efforts to discover them first. I'll probably not put so much efforts into just let it go, because I'm losing maybe 500 dirhams here and I'm making here 1 million dirhams. So my focus is there. When the market is challenging, no. I will look at my team. Who knows best? Who doesn't know best? How can we control cost? Who is actually good value for money? Who's worthy of the investment? I'm going to keep. If you've worked so well in the booming time, when it was very easy to get a job in Dubai or wherever you are, in crisis you'll always find a job. There's nothing called no jobs. If you're good enough, we deal with people. Long as human exists, that means there's business to serve them and the business is there.
If you're willing.
Exactly. But the challenging market, it takes so much experience and energy to stand out and to be able to actually perform. Everyone wants the best value for your money. In challenging market, everyone wants the best value for their money.
That's right.
In a booming market, everyone's booming. Okay, they don't need to look at the floor plan. They just buy. In a challenging market, they want every single inch, and the same applies for employers. In a challenging market, my cost is so has to be controlled. The salary I pay have to result in the best value for the company. That means if you're not good enough, you're not going to get a job.
You're talking about the necessity of, what's important is to not just think about, or not to even think about working smart. You're talking about the willingness to work hard. There were a few examples that we touched on where some of your drivers have become real estate agents.
Yeah.
Because normally
5 of my drivers who became real estate agents, 2 of them became massively successful. So one of them is a millionaire today as we speak. Salary was 3,000 dirhams a month.
So for an international audience, 3,000 dirhams is the equivalent of $800.
Yeah, and today he's a millionaire. So today I assure you that this guy's got more than $4 million. And
the secret was what?
The secret was what? I think he showed up every day, he did the math, and I think the process is the same for everybody.
It's just
I think even if you want to do it wrong, even if someone is thieving or whatever, if you want to become a very good thief, you have to work so hard for it to become a very good thief. So all you have to do is just to deploy your energy in the right direction for a good cause, okay? And you look for the long term, because at the end of the day, if you become so good at doing something bad, on the long term, you're gonna hit a dead end, and you're gonna pay your lifetime as a price for it. You know, so you just deploy it for a good cause, and if you cannot guarantee luck to meet with luck, then work hard, and if luck comes, amazing, but don't bank on it.
What do you look for in people? You know, you'll see a lot of individuals. What makes someone stand out in your eyes? Where you go, hey, I'm willing to take a chance on this person. I'm willing to hire them.
No, I love what you just said, because that's why I hired one of my drivers, because he was working as a valet park in one of the restaurants I used to go to every weekend, and just his willingness and passion to jump and to open the door, the car door for you, and close the door of the car for you, and just with a smile on his face. And this is it. This is what I'm trying to say, is that when you leave impressions, what creates your reputations and what opens you up for opportunities in life is the impressions you leave with every single human you meet. Okay? So for me, when I saw that, I said, okay, this guy can be my driver. I would love to have this guy as my driver. He's very energetic. You know? And trust me, there are plenty of me.
Yes,
in this world.
Absolutely.
You know, there are plenty of people. If you ask any rational employer now or rational business owner, what do you wish for? He would tell you, my biggest wish is to have energetic people, honest people, hardworking people within my business.
And even if I don't have the skill, will you hire me if I have the energy and the attitude?
100%.
Please, that does not mean that you spam for us. This is it's a reality that...
But the thing is, there has to be a mean to prove it.
Yes.
You know, you can't tell me by words or you write on your CV that you're a hard worker.
No, you show it by opening that door or shutting that door.
You do it in whatever you're busy with now in life. You do it and you expose it to the rest of the world. You share it with the rest of the world. You share it with the universe. And then one guy, one day, will pick you.
Yes.
You know? You don't go and say, you said that you're going to hire this. No. Because that's, you know, trust and hard work. And it can only be proven over a consistent period of time. And you can't do this consistent period of time in 2 words, 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
Yeah? So you just do it. You don't expect short-term results. And it will happen.
Yes.
That's it.
500 years from now, it's going to read... Firas Al Msaddi was, what would it
500 years?
500 years from now.
I have no clue. That's a very long shot. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what would you like?
What
would you like it to read? You know, your great grandkids, they're going to look. I don't know if it's going to be a book or it's probably going to be in a mid-air screen, but they will look at history, and what would it say about you? What would you like it to say about you?
I always did my best. Genuinely. I always did my best. You know, whether I was working for someone or I'm working for my business, I always did my best. Because I know when you don't do your best, you're not going to learn the best way of doing what you're doing. And we don't learn the best way of doing what you're doing, you will never progress.
What's a quote that you like or live by?
If the opportunity is known to everyone, it's no longer called an opportunity.
That's
I love this. I keep saying it. Homemade.
If the opportunity is known to everyone,
it's no longer called an opportunity.
It's no longer. When the taxi driver is telling you about it or the barber is telling you about it, you've missed it.
Yeah. So, you know, do the math and make rational decisions, but don't let the hype blind you, the generic, the common hype. So now everyone's going that direction. That doesn't mean that everyone is wrong, but still do your own math. Don't just follow the crowd. Do your own math, because remember, if everyone sees it, it's not an opportunity, because everyone is already there. Today, everyone sees the Bitcoin. Those who saw it 10 years back became multi-billionaires.
When it was $3.
Yeah. So, if the opportunity,
From your perspective, being the owner and chairman and CEO of a number of companies in different fields, you're in Dubai, which is the pulse of the world, I should say, and you travel a lot. What trends do you see in the next 5 or 10 years? What should people keep an eye out for as opportunities?
Dubai.
Dubai is the trend.
Dubai itself is an opportunity.
Yes.
And what people don't see in Dubai is the fact that Dubai is no longer a dream or a sketch on an A4 paper. Whenever you drive in Dubai, There's more than enough evidence for an average intelligent person to understand that this place will get to places in life. That's it. Okay? But today it's not there yet. But there's proven evidence.
Yes.
So this place is heading towards a good destination. You just be part of it. Be part of creating it. The same way I said, when you work for a company, you earn the experience of what you put in. The same way, you contribute towards the vision of this city, where the city is heading to. The city is being built as we speak. If you believe that this city has what it takes to become a world-class city, and if you have that vision, because many people have limited vision, they don't know Dubai is, no. If you believe in this, if you believe that someone can start from a driver, can start from scratch and become someone successful in life, it's the same way for Dubai. I look at Dubai the same way as I look at the entrepreneur. It came out of nowhere and it wants to be the best in the world. Why in hell would you expect this to happen without going through challenges?
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
But the opportunity is to see it, is to see where this place is heading to. Still do calculated decisions, do the math, but there's a massive opportunity in Dubai. I'm not only saying real estate, there's vacancy for everyone. Social media, there's a vacancy there. It's not mature yet.
Yes.
If no one claimed it, even someone with zero substance and content, if he just says, I want to be there, he's going to be there. Because there's no one there. You know, there are plenty of vacancies in Dubai, and it's not rocket science. Whatever you see in a very mature city, in a world-class city, that already took place there. It's in the natural course of evolvement for Dubai. It's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's going to get there. It's going to get even better and more. I mean, wherever I travel, I say Dubai. People say, "You're from Dubai." You know, believe me. Wherever I travel, the minute I come back to Dubai airport, I say, "Gosh, this place is something."
That's amazing.
You know. I mean, how many countries and how many governments they talk about tech and innovation and smart city and I don't know what, and then they want probably the private sector, or they simulate first the private sector to do it. Dubai, I would say the public sector, since they announced the smart Dubai, the amount of digitalization that took place across all the public sectors in Dubai, whether you talk about the Road and Transport Authority or the Electricity and Water Authority, or you talk about Dubai courts or Dubai police, or the amount of digitalization that went in the past 5 years is fascinating by all means.
And in terms of speed,
now,
it's faster than just about any city in the world.
You know what? Now this is being built. You don't expect returns until you actually finish the machine and the machine starts running.
Sure.
Okay? And that's the opportunity in Dubai. Today, the machine, the infrastructure is being built, and it's going to be ready to run very, very soon and to pay returns.
And that's what vision.
That's the time you come.
Vision.
Yeah. And honestly, you look at the leadership of it. That's the opportunity I see. I've traveled to many places. I've visited many markets. I've spoken to many people in different industries. Of course, opportunities are everywhere. Every market has its own opportunities. But I think Dubai as a city, I mean, they talk about the Expo 2020. They say, okay, it happened in Milan, it was good, but it didn't change the world in Milan. Because Milan is known, it's part of Italy, it's known for centuries. Who doesn't know about Italy? But Dubai has this amazing, crazy, fascinating, impressive wow factor that many people don't know about.
Yeah.
And the Expo is only about after the Expo. The Expo is only a stage to show what the city is. So the opportunity is to come in now. There are plenty of time-sensitive opportunity for a lifetime financial breakthrough. Okay, I'm not only talking about people who want to come and invest in real estate. No, I'm talking about entrepreneurs. I'm talking about people like you and me and business people across various industries. There's a huge, massive opportunity in Dubai. But it's not easy to grab it. It's not easy to win anywhere, wherever you go.
It's understanding you need to have vision and the willingness to put in the hard work.
Yeah. You sign with yourself and you say that's it. And I would say real estate, I'm very blessed because it's a very rewarding industry. If you do it for 5 years religiously, you will change your life, your family life, and the life of 2-3 generations after you.
100%. I agree. Before we close, this is a segment for our YouTube viewers, for the podcast listeners. Do you have an ask? Would you like them to follow you on a certain aspect? Perhaps you'd like them to look into some things that you're doing?
Of course, I would love to. I'm busy writing my first book. So hopefully in 6 months' time it will be out. So that's one.
Do you have a title for it?
No, not yet.
Soon to come.
But I would love actually to, if those who believe that I can inspire them, or, I'd like to believe that I became an inspiration to many. If you feel that I can add value to you and inspire you and you would like to engage with me, I would love to have, more followers on my Instagram and my LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, more than Instagram even. So you can. I think
we'll include all the details in the show notes and also on the video. So whether you're listening to this on podcast or you're watching it on YouTube, we'll put in all the details. So Firas, can I ask you, if someone is serious enough anywhere in the world to go, hey, you know what? I want to go and work for this guy.
Okay.
Is that a possibility, or is that an opportunity? Is there a place where they can sign up, or could you tell us a bit more about your company?
Of course, we're always looking for talent. We're always looking for hardworking people. We have, I think, over probably 20 nationalities in the company. So I don't care much about nationality or where people come from or their backgrounds, long as someone has the will. This is what I believe, but of course, always the challenge is how can we prove it that someone has, that level of consistency or perseverance of hard work. But of course, if someone is interested, we travel to London, we travel to different parts of the world recruiting agents for our business. So definitely, if anyone wants to be part of this impressive, fascinating real estate market in Dubai, I don't know a better platform. And at the same time, as a company, what we do in a nutshell, so basically we've been in the market for over 10 years. We're a very, very tech-driven company, and we have 5 branches throughout the city. We do sales and leasing. We don't do all of Dubai because I personally believe knowledge is an edge. And so we specialize in projects that we deem as the most lucrative projects in Dubai. So, that I know that we have the lion's share there, and we know it inside out.
And what projects are you excited about?
So basically, it's downtown, City Walk, Blue Waters, Dubai Creek Harbor. So the major projects in Dubai, with major developers, mainly government developers or semi-government developers. And of course, we do secondary market too. And of course, we do property management. So we deal with institutional and individual investors. We manage their properties A to Z here in Dubai. So you could be a bank or a private equity company, or you could be an individual who's got one apartment in Dubai you want it to be managed. And then we have real estate snagging and inspection. So we have the engineered version because, unfortunately, some people think that they can snag and inspect themselves. But this is a whole industry.
It's good to leave it to professionals.
Of course, you need an engineer-based snagging where they do thermographic imaging, they understand what's behind the ceiling, what's behind the wall, before you take handover or before you come to buy a property in Dubai. And then we also have real estate investment advisory, like you mentioned earlier. I run a portfolio of over 2 billion dirhams. So we have full mandate, we buy and sell and manage on behalf of our clients. And then we also have real estate development advisory, which was born out of the investment advisory because we were trading lands on behalf of our clients. 2011-12 lands trading was probably one of the most lucrative real estate investments you could possibly make. But then when the market changed, the best exit strategy was to develop these lands, and we started a development advisory arm where we develop A to Z basically. So the client just funds the project and we do everything A to Z. The most recent project, the flagship project, I would say that we handed over recently was last year, September. It's called Mada Residence. It's a 36-story tower, 600 million dirham property in downtown, just across the road from Dubai Mall.
Nice.
Internationally, you can call it across the road from Burj Khalifa, the tallest tower in the world. And then, of course, we have our standalone Airbnb business. It's called Fam Living. So we operate Airbnb apartments in Dubai. It's a regulated business. We're regulated by the DTCM, Department of Tourism. We do also interior design. and we do outdoor media. But again, if you now cut my veins, you'd see real estate in my blood. I'm really passionate about real estate, and real estate is what allowed me to fund all my other businesses, whether in Dubai or London or what we started in Turkey 5 or 6 years back. That was also real estate.
Mm-hmm. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that we put all the links as well to everything that you've mentioned in the show notes, the projects. Whether you're watching this as a video or you're listening to this on podcast, we'll put all the links in place.
And back just to adding value to people, it's not marketing the business, but I would say, I've spoken a lot about calculated risk and well-informed decisions and stuff. We're a very data-centric business, so we make our decisions based on data and statistics, and this is what we provide to our clients. So if I have to actually promote one thing, I would choose to promote something that is free, which is an app that anyone can download. It's called Dubai Projects, where there's one story for the truth only and one story for the true prices in Dubai, as registered in the government, in Dubai Land Department. And that app will give you access to supply and demand, prices, trends, construction progress of different projects as recorded in Dubai Land Department, and it's absolutely free. You can download it from your app store.
Excellent. That's brilliant.
All right.
Before we let you go, who would you recommend we interview next on the show? Who do you feel can give great value to our audience?
Honestly, I think Dubai has plenty of success stories.
Absolutely.
Some I know of, and many I don't know of. But I would say one of the most outstanding success story out of all of Dubai, if I have to pick one, is Mohammed Al, the chairman of Emaar.
The chairman of Emaar, and
it's the company that built the tallest tower in the world, and now it's building even a taller tower than whatever they built 10 years ago. So
that's fantastic. And Noon as well as
Noon,
a brand that he oversees.
Mohammed Al is a legend.
Absolutely. Mohammed Al, you are a legend, and everyone knows this already, but this is an official request to have you on the show. We would love to have you to gain your thoughts, your tactics, your strategies, to give people an insight into the way you think, your decision-making process, and what has helped you be a living legend that you are. We will reach out to your office to make an official invitation, but consider this an invite as well. So you're active mostly on LinkedIn and Insta. That's where people can hit you up if they'd like to reach out. Please do not spam for us, but follow through, get some good value. And I think what we really got out of today is the simplicity of how you see things. And you're making that decision, that willingness, the willingness to put in the hard work.
Honestly, I watched one video that's 8 minutes and 54 seconds. It's on YouTube, and it got Jay-Z in it, and it got Steve Jobs, and just it strikes me to listen to someone like Jay-Z saying the genius thing we did is that we didn't give up. Look, come on. And he tell me success is complex. It strikes me too. You just need that first should put you in a position where you have no excuse not to make it. And that's it. I wish you best. I wish everybody best. And
For us, you're a beast, man. I really appreciate you making the time.
Thank you.
Much love. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Folks, if you're watching this on YouTube, the chances are my huge recommendation would be that you watch this video again. If you're listening to it on podcast, listen to this podcast again, because there were a lot of things that were said that you would have missed the first time. I guarantee you, because I'm going to rewatch this video to take down some more notes from what was shared by my friend here, who's a beast in every front. If you have the opportunity to meet him, where he's speaking in numerous places around the world, make sure you follow him. Make sure you follow him on LinkedIn. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. We'll put in all the links so that you do so. When his book comes out, I'll release another video to make sure that you follow it through. And I'll also make sure that the link is there for you to get the book, because you need to do so. Friends, I hope that some of the questions that you had in your mind, whether you realize it or not, were answered. If you do have questions, whether it's for myself or for us, please ask the questions. We will do our best to answer them. Better yet, I could get a guest to share their perspective on the answers to the questions that you have. Speaking of guests, if you do have a guest in mind, let us know who would you like to see on the show. Who should I ask questions? Who would you like to hear about their thoughts, their strategies, how they go about their day-to-day lives? Put it in the comments below or make a note of it. The purpose of this show is to help you get inspired, get informed, and get going. I hope and I believe we were able to do this for you. This is How Do They Do It? I'm Kevin Abdulrahman, and until the next episode, as my guest Firas Al Msaddi says, keep winning.